Have you ever wondered why the geniuses of history seem to possess an inexhaustible source of inspiration and clarity of thought? The creative force represents one of the most powerful forces human beings can harness. It is this same energy that is at the origin of discoveries, works of art, innovations, and the solving of complex problems, the spark that transforms thoughts into tangible reality. However, for many, this energy is constantly depleted. The body spends its vitality releasing thoughts instead of directing them toward creation, leaving the mind scattered and uninspired. Withholding completely reverses this process. By conserving your energy, you redirect the life force that fuels creation itself. The nervous system calms, concentration intensifies, and the mind begins to generate ideas with extraordinary clarity and fluidity. What was previously perceived as boring comes alive again. The brain stops chasing dopamine hits and begins to produce insight, originality, and depth. Retention proves that creativity is not a quest, but a discovery when we stop wasting what fuels it. This transformation is both biological and spiritual. Retention activates the same faculties that transform imagination into innovation: dopamine, testosterone, and acetylcholine. This trio of motivation, vision, and focus begins to work in perfect harmony. Section 1. Redirection. When retention sets in, the body begins an energetic relocation that few people experience under normal conditions. A large portion of your metabolic resources, amino acids, minerals, and neurotransmitter precursors, are constantly being used in reproductive processes. This system demands an enormous amount of fuel, even without us realizing it. Withholding fuel slows this depletion and forces the body to make a crucial decision: where to direct this energy now. The answer is toward higher functions. The body instinctively redirects its resources to the brain, the command center that shapes thought, vision, and creation. This is the beginning of a biological reorientation. This change significantly improves the efficiency of nutrient flow. The cerebrospinal fluid, which protects and nourishes the brain, is enriched with essential compounds such as zinc, magnesium, and amino acids. These molecules fuel the higher cortical regions responsible for abstract thought, concentration, and imagination. The brain begins to run on cleaner fuel, maintaining prolonged clarity of mind without exhaustion. Withholding, in this sense, is not mere abstinence. It is a reorientation. You transform the body into a self-contained system that prioritizes awareness over complacency, production over consumption. The effects are subtle at first, but become undeniable over time. This reorientation creates a physiological improvement that supports creativity from its foundations. Mental resilience increases as the body no longer struggles with exhaustion. It thrives on abundance. Thoughts expand further. Ideas develop with complexity. Higher problem-solving seems more fluid. You notice that concentration lasts longer. Distractions lose their appeal, and once vague concepts become clearer. The body, through retention, has begun to nourish the mind. It's the biological equivalent of shifting resources from survival to creation. This transformation demonstrates that the spark of creativity isn't mystical. It's a chemical discipline transformed into intelligence. At the peak of this process, we experience a different kind of power: calm, steady, and intelligent. The brain becomes an engine of innovation, fueled by energy that was once wasted. Each day of retention reinforces this cycle by refining how your body supports your mind. Thoughts no longer arise in spurts. They build, layer, and evolve. This is where you begin to understand that creativity isn't just about talent, but also about energy management. By mastering where your energy goes, you master what your mind can construct. Retention demonstrates that your biology can be trained to fulfill its highest function, creation itself. Section 2. Synaptic divergence. Retention alters the way neurons communicate with each other in a state of exhaustion. Brain communication becomes rigid and predictable, trapped in repetitive thought patterns. We think of loops rather than jumps. Retention breaks this cycle by restoring neurochemical balance, particularly in the pathways involving glutamate and acetylcholine, the two messengers responsible for learning, concentration, and flexibility. When these substances stabilize, the brain stops chaotically burning energy and begins building new pathways. Neurons that once fired in the same fixed direction now begin to form cross-connections, linking unrelated ideas and memories. This is the basis of originality, the ability to think beyond what exists. As this communication network expands, your thoughts shift in unpredictable but meaningful ways. Creativity thrives on what scientists call divergent thinking, the ability to connect distant concepts to form new ones. Retention fosters this ability by improving synaptic efficiency, allowing signals to flow more quickly and accurately. The brain becomes a living network of associations, where one idea triggers another in surprising directions. You no longer pursue creativity by force. It begins to flow naturally, as if your mind has learned to reorganize itself in real time. The effort that once exhausted you is replaced by a self-reinforcing curiosity. This state is the very essence of creative brilliance. Ideas no longer arise from tension, but from freedom. The mind effortlessly juggles disciplines, perspectives, and emotions, merging logic and imagination. Retention creates the neurological space necessary for this type of thinking. When your brain isn't cluttered by imbalance, fatigue can express itself freely. Each day of retention strengthens the circuits that generate insight until creativity becomes your default mode of operation. You stop trying to create and begin to let creation flow through you. The mark of a mind that has mastered divergence. Section 3. Imaginative resonance. When sexual energy is retained, the body's internal rhythm shifts. The usual waves of impulse and restlessness give way to a steady pulse that synchronizes thoughts, emotions, and intuition into a single current. It is this shift in frequency that creates retention, a silent harmony between body and mind. The noise that once filled your mind fades, replaced by a sense of clarity that is both powerful and peaceful. In this state, your thoughts gain depth, your emotions become more meaningful, and your intuition sharpens. Energy, once dispersed by desire, now vibrates in pure awareness. As this resonance strengthens, inspiration begins to flow through you differently. Ideas no longer arise from random bursts of imagination. They emerge naturally from the layers of your own consciousness. The subconscious begins to communicate with the conscious mind through patterns and symbols, offering perspectives that seem guided rather than forced. Retention nourishes this connection by creating the energetic calm needed to listen to subtle signals. What was once an intuition becomes a dialogue between your higher consciousness and of the creative intelligence of the universe. This is where creativity moves from invention to revelation. At the end of this process, the mind becomes more than just a thinking machine. It becomes a receiver. You begin to perceive ideas as if they already exist, waiting to be translated into form. This is imaginative resonance, where energy, intuition, and consciousness operate in harmony. Imagination ceases to be a fantasy and becomes a bridge to something greater. If you'd like to learn more about the hidden benefits of semen retention and discover other secrets, you can download a revealing ebook of ancient wisdom, condensed into a unique spiritual manual. The link is available in the description. Retention refines your internal frequency so you can connect with universal archetypal patterns of creation. The result is timeless creativity, rooted in truth and far beyond the limits of personal thought. Master your energy and you will master your creative destiny. Section 1. Evolution of inspiration. Throughout history, it has been shown that great creators not only mastered specific subjects, but also possessed an inner energy that allowed them to tirelessly explore ideas. From the painter delicately tracing each brushstroke to the scientist, dissecting hypotheses with infinite patience, all shared a seemingly inexhaustible life force. This strength does not arise by chance, nor is it acquired solely through talent. It is the fruit of deep roots in the body and mind. By understanding how it circulates and how to redirect it, we discover that it is possible to access levels of inspiration comparable to those of these geniuses. The heart of this knowledge lies in the recognition that creativity is not an ethereal attribute reserved for a privileged few, but a state of which everyone can attune themselves. To achieve this, it is essential to understand how the body's energy supports each spark of original idea. When this energy disperses into fleeting impulses, the mind tends to fragment and lose touch with deeper insight. Conversely, by conserving and concentrating the vital impulse, a permanent reservoir of creative force is formed. Ancient sages from various traditions intuitively understood this dynamic. In India, the concept of prana referred to the life energy that flows through every cell, while in China, Qi recognized a flow unifying the body and the cosmos. In the West, forgotten philosophies spoke of divine essence or inner fire. Although the words change, the idea remains. Every human being possesses a latent creative power, harnessed through discipline and attention. By exploring the stories of figures like Leonardo da Vinci and Nikola Tesla, we discover that they not only devoted long hours to their work, but also practiced energetic self-regulation. Their lives, filled with curiosity, followed internal rhythms that encouraged deep contemplation and assimilation of subtle details. This practice of retention was not limited to sexuality. It involved moderating any excess, adapting one's diet, taking care of one's breathing, and silencing external noises. In this way, the mind freed itself from the superficial world and entered into contact with higher planes of thought. Part 2. Body integration. The human body is a prodigious machine where every system supports the brain in its creative work. For many, health is a superficial concept that boils down to not feeling sick. Yet, creativity requires much more than the mere absence of illness. It's about bringing the body to a state of optimal strength where nutrients, hormones, and brainwaves work in synergy. The first step is to observe your breathing. Conscious breathing isn't just a relaxation exercise. It's a method for channeling prana, or K, to specific areas of the brain. By inhaling deeply and exhaling in a controlled manner, the heart rate stabilizes, blood pressure balances, and the production of essential neurotransmitters is facilitated. Through this practice, the mind calms and attention is focused on the present moment, an essential condition for the emergence of new connections. Diet plays a crucial role, prioritizing foods rich in micronutrients like zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins provides a solid foundation for the production of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. Incorporating seeds, nuts, green leafy vegetables, and quality protein into your diet promotes the synthesis of acetylcholine, thus facilitating memory and concentration. Additionally, moderate consumption of healthy fats stimulates the production of steroid hormones, which are linked to motivation and mental clarity. Mindful movement, whether through Tai Chi, yoga, or structured stretching exercises, complements this approach. Combining gentle physical activity with mindfulness activates brain areas linked to self-control and sustained attention. The result is emotional stability that protects the mind from unnecessary distractions. Over time, creative periods flow more naturally, and breaks to recharge are less necessary. Part 3. Circadian rhythm and creativity. The body's internal pulse follows a daily cycle that is beneficial to respect and harmonize. Those who ignore these signals expose themselves to a cycle of highs and lows that depletes their creativity. Conversely, those who align their days with circadian rhythms release a sustained flow of energy. Morning, when light stimulates the pineal gland, is the ideal time to tackle tasks that require analytical focus. At midday, the body needs short breaks, dedicated to breathing exercises and light meditation, thus rekindling the creative spark. Early afternoon is conducive to sketching, writing drafts, or experimenting with new ideas. As the sun sets, the mind turns to introspection and deep reflection. Using this time to plan or refine your work can ease the transition to nighttime rest. Getting enough sleep, preferably in a dark, quiet environment, strengthens the consolidation of neural connections. During sleep, the mind reorganizes newly acquired information, translating scattered fragments into coherent patterns that can turn into innovative ideas upon waking. The quality of rest also improves when energy is not dissipated in useless impulses. By practicing retention, the body enters a more restorative state of rest. The frequency of disturbing dreams decreases, and the experience of REM sleep, a phase associated with creativity, intensifies. Those who master this rhythm find that, upon waking, they feel not only rested, but also mentally alert, with an intuitive flow of clear and original thoughts. Section 4. Discipline and freedom. It seems paradoxical to assert that discipline is the key to a state of creative spontaneity. This discipline does not imply extreme rigidity, but rather a framework of gentle restraint that prevents wasted energy. By establishing habits of restraint and daily practice, the body and mind learn not to react impulsively to the smallest detail, but rather to exercise moderation. A fertile ground is created where ideas can germinate without collapsing in the face of the slightest distraction. The first habit is to set aside a sacred space and time for creation. By dedicating a corner exclusively to thinking, drawing, writing, or composing, a clear message is sent to the nervous system. This place becomes a magnet, convincing the brain that it's time to focus. Over time, the mere intention of going there triggers a state of deep concentration. Another essential habit is the practice of conscious retention. This isn't about denying gratification, but rather postponing it to invest in more fulfilling life projects. Every time you choose to maintain and redirect your energy, to strengthen an internal muscle, little by little, you acquire the ability to maintain your attention without giving in to insignificant external stimuli. Sustained attention becomes the most powerful tool for developing complex ideas to their most complex levels. Section 5. The Art of Inner Silence. In an environment saturated with digital noise, it's essential to create an inner silence conducive to the blossoming of ideas. This silence isn't just the absence of external sounds, but a state where the mind ceases to struggle with superficial impulses and desires. To achieve this, one can use meditation techniques that involve the retention of vital energy. A simple practice is to close your eyes and focus your attention on the point between your eyebrows. By concentrating there, the mind leaves its discursive dynamics and enters a visual universe where thoughts are expressed not in words, but in sensations and images. With time and perseverance, this space becomes a territory in its own right, an inner library where previously unknown concepts and connections reside. Another variation is to keep the body straight and a soft gaze, without focusing on a specific object. Softening the gaze lessens the bombardment of visual stimuli and frees the mind from the temptation to label every element of the environment. This state promotes communication with the subconscious, which offers non-obvious solutions and associations that transcend linear logic. Section 6. Resonance with creative legacy. Each legendary creator has left a resonance that spans generations. Studying their processes, not to blindly imitate them, but to resonate with their energetic frequency, can be an act of profound attunement. Observing Freddie Kahler's journals, Marie Curie's notebooks, or Mozart's letters reveals patterns of retention, extreme concentration, and periods of deliberate silence. Delving into these writings isn't about copying specific routines, but rather about grasping their essence. The practice of protecting one's life force, allowing oneself moments of solitude, and not giving in to the urge to indulge in immediate pleasures. Understanding that this same inner discipline has been the source of extraordinary discoveries inspires their desire to adopt and adapt these principles to one's own life. Section 7. The Inner Journey Toward Eternal Creation. When retention becomes a habit, the person ceases to seek creativity as an external object. The anxiety of finding the muse in remote places no longer exists, for it resides within. Each day becomes an opportunity to refine the inner alchemy that transforms everyday experience into creative matter. This inner journey is not linear. There will sometimes be setbacks, doubts, or the temptation to give up. However, by committing to perseverance, each setback becomes an opportunity to explore one's own strength more deeply. With each return to the vital center, creativity takes firmer root, until it reaches a point where doubt dissipates and the mind becomes the channel. At this moment, creation is no longer an isolated act of daily existence, but its natural expression. Every gesture, every thought, every decision becomes part of a larger work, life itself. Inspiration ceases to chase itself and harmonizes with inner silence, giving birth to an uninterrupted flow of clarity and serenity that transcends all barriers of time and space. By understanding how retention can redirect sexual energy toward creation, a secret kept by sages throughout the ages is revealed. The spark that ignites discoveries and works of art is not a mystical mystery, but the result of a subtle mastery of energy flows. Armed with this knowledge, everyone can embark on a journey to reconnect with their inner strength and unlock the creative potential that silently lurks beneath the surface of everyday life.